Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining us today. Welcome to our webinar, The Future of Risk Management and Compliance in an Era of Rapid Technological Advancement. It is brought to you by Optimal Solution and Services in partnership with our training platform, Knoige. Our services range from information and cloud security, IT service management, IT governance, risk management, software engineering, data and information privacy, consulting, and implementation. This is Rohma. I'll be your moderator and host for today. I come from a software engineering background and serve as the head of research, delivery, and branding at OSS MENA. I am joining in today from Islamabad, Pakistan, looking at a pleasant 26 degrees outside my window. We have an exciting and insightful two-day sessions planned for you, featuring expert speakers and discussions on highly relevant topics of today. Before we begin, let's quickly go over the agenda. First, and today we'll have part one, strategies for Agile HSE leadership. Mr. Joyveer Dutt, prominent HSE professional, will be talking about how health, safety, and environment domain is evolving with today's ever-changing risks, and how leaders can delve into innovative strategies to navigate them. Tomorrow, same time, same link, we'll welcome back you all for part two, data privacy in a post-GDPR world, with Mr. Dmitry Shatov, who is a risk management and business continuity professional, and will dive into the data privacy landscape and how it's continuously evolving from regulatory frameworks point of view. Before we get started, let's hear from all of you. Please follow the poll link given in the chat box and in front of your screens to see where you are joining in us from today. I will put the link in the chat box as well, or you can use your phone camera to access the QR code. So let's hear from you. Thank you for your responses. Let's move on. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. This is going to be a brief and engaging 30-35 minute session. You will be able to ask questions using the QA option available to you in your Zoom. Recording will be available via our YouTube channel after this session, and let's hope to keep in touch through our social media platforms. Without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker for today's session, Mr. Joyveer Dutt. He will be leading the discussion for HSE in today's evolving risk. Mr. Dutt, are you with us?
Hello. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone.
Okay. Without further ado.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. So thank you for joining us today. So I believe without further ado, over to you.
I will share the screen.
Yes, please.
My screen is visible, ladies and gentlemen?
Not at the moment.
Now let me know.
Yes, we are able to see your desktop.
Wonderful. So good afternoon, good morning, everybody who are here. Today, I'm gonna talk about HSEs in today's evolving risk. Basically, HSE is very important in our work, especially into the occupations which we do. However, what happens is HSE, as we say today, that HSE has been practiced by people or by human from time immemorial because it's a moral obligation of anybody who are working or whom for you're working to ensure that you need to be ensure that you are safe where you are working. However, what happens is, am I audible? Somebody has raised hand.
Yes, Mr. Dutt, you are audible.
Okay. So somebody has raised hand. If you can take it, or is it like?
I request the audience to leave any questions using the QA box, and we will address them during the session and towards the end.
So today I'm gonna talk about HSE. Particularly, many of you might be the HSE professional for years, but as the risk landscape is changing, as the world is changing towards different dynamics, so it is very important today that we, as a HSE professional, our approach towards work also needs to change. And hence this topic, which is HSE in today's evolving risk. Now, first I will ask to run a poll. Roma, if you can run a poll. Now, the poll question would be, what do you understand?
Yes. Yeah, continue, Mr. Dutt.
So the poll question would be, what do you understand by HSE? It's just general answers. Whichever you suit, you can just press it, and we can see the poll like what it is. Now, the answer what I have given is very easy, which you can see like just health and safety and environmental function at work, or it's an essential element of business which holistically takes care of an organizational financial, moral, legal obligations. And third, it is an additional cost due to regulatory compliances. So if you people can quickly answer and we can see what's the things are coming up.
The poll must be visible on your Zoom right about now.
Yes, and I can see the poll, maximum people are answering the right one. I can say 90% has answered the right one, which is the middle one. Now it is like 86%. In fact, now this is very interesting. It's going very interesting. Like 13% people are saying just health safety function at work. Is that the health and safety? But I am very happy to say like 87% have answered that it's an essential element of business, which holistically takes care of an organization's financial, moral, and legal obligation. So with this, I will just end the poll now and go ahead. Can you remove this one? Yeah. So now the concept of health and safety, basically, if you see the concept of health and safety is a collection of tools, systems, processes to avoid health issues and injuries and protect environment in an organizational setting or in a work setting. Now, what happens is, if you consider at your work, there are different types of assets, there are different types of resources. Normally, in a HSE language, we talk about 3 M's: men, machine, and material. Now, the first and foremost thing is to ensure the safety of the men. When I say men, it's include all the human beings, like females, males, and everyone who works in there. For the ease of thing, that is the reason I'm using the terminology men. However, after the men, something comes very important in HSE is machines. Without machines, the work cannot happen. These machines also can pose different sort of risk in your business. So that machine should not also be able to injure any human being, which is human assets in your organization. Third is the materials. There are numerous materials you use in your work, especially from chemicals to toxic things and whatnot. Those things, those materials can also cause sufferings to human beings if it is not managed properly. So the concept of HSE in a work, if you want to do a work, you need all these three resources, basic resources. We call it as a man, machine, and material. And on this, what is required is health and safety is the key fundamental of it. Then the second one, and very important, is HSE risks are part of all overall risk, and that we call as enterprise risk in an organization. And proper management of HSE risk can significantly help enterprise reduce its risk profile. Now, when we talk about risk, risk is of different sort in an organization. Now, from a holistic approach or from a bird's eye point of view, if I see, and if you see in any organization, the risk is, we call it as an enterprise risk management. Enterprise means entire work and its interaction to its various stakeholders. What sort of a risk it can pose for the organization is known as enterprise risk. Now, enterprise risk can consist of various other risks, say operational risks, say financial risks, say whatnot, even some external risks which are beyond the sphere of influence of the organization. However, one of the important risks which remains always with any organization is HSE risk, which is health, safety, and environment. Again, I'm saying the one is that when you do operation, when you do work, then only your operation works. Operations is the key of any business. Basically, if you see and if you consider operation as a gear, when this gear moves only, then only from the input and the output, that is the profit, and whatever the products and services you provide, it generates. HSE is a part of this entire enterprise risk. Now, enterprise risk, when you do this, every organization has a risk profile. To reduce this risk profile, one of the element and one of the very key element is HSE. And by managing health and safety holistically in your organization and in your workplace, you can, and it is possible to reduce the enterprise risk assessment as a whole. Third, by research, it's been said that if you assumed a very conservative estimate that 1,000 companies invested an extra $5,000 or any currency you put on that figure, each in safety management system, according to the return on investment above, it could have saved them anywhere from 10,000 to 30,000. So basically what you are talking about is 1:3. It's around 30% profit return on investment if you are giving it to the health and safety. That is what the concept of HSE in a business and in an enterprise risk assessment, enterprise risk management comes in. Now, very important, another is importance of HSE in various industry. You all might be knowing, it's very important to understand that what is the importance of HSE in various industry. And when we talk about various industry, this industry can start from construction to FM to aviation to nuclear, whatnot, even hospitality, even healthcare. HSE actually helps an organization to increase productivity. Second, it also increases morale of its people, because when your people are coming to work, if they feel safe, they will be definitely productive. Now, these two elements, the productiveness and increased in morale and moral increase, somehow are correlated. If morale is high, then your productivity will be increasing. And the third element, which is increased profits, is also interlinked. So here, if you see the importance of HSE in various industries, all the parameters which has been shown here are basically interlinked. Basically, they are correlated. One is for other. So increased productivity, it increases morale of the people who works for you. Eventually, it increases the profit for the business. No business house remains in business unless and until there is a profit. And I think you all will be agree with that. That when the profit increases, when your staff or when your people or your stakeholders, from a human perspective, there is an increased morale of your things and there is an increased productivity. What happens is your brand equity increases. The equity of your brand increases by multiple folds. Another issue is absenteeism. It reduces absenteeism in multiple folds again. Because of health and safety issues, because of some occupational issues, the employees can get sick. If there is a toxic environment from a chemical point of view or from a dust point of view, there can be mass, people can get sick. And once they are sick, your production can be affected. Another issue, which is very important, is increased risk awareness. Now, there can be a question, like why increased risk awareness is an importance of HSE. Now, it's very important to understand, you cannot mitigate a risk unless you are aware of it. Do you know how to tackle a risk which you are not aware of? And if I may give an example of our yesteryears, not so far, of 2020 COVID. When COVID struck us, it was something new. We were not aware of it. We were just thinking that it's another flu, another type of flu. And I remember there were many criticisms. It happened when many of us as a health and safety professionals, when we started putting up protocols for COVID at its initial stage. And you will resonate with me that how many of us might have been criticized within and outside. That these people are basically overdoing safety. That is something you have heard. However, as the time passes, people started appreciating health and safety, appreciating the health and safety professionals because they were the first one to put the protocols in. So this is very important, that if you are not aware of the risk, that what risk it can bring, you cannot mitigate it. You cannot appreciate the risk. Unless and until you appreciate the risk, you cannot mitigate the risk. And last but not least, with all this risk management, enterprise risk management through HSE, you can also reduce a lot of litigations, regulatory litigations an organization can have. And that is the importance of HSE in various industries in today's era. Now, in modern days risk, if I may ask you all, what do you mean by risk? So you people will be telling that traditional definition of risk. A risk is something which can cause harm. It can cause some sort of a loss, financial loss, moral loss, or some sort of loss is a risk. However, risk is basically something else. Risk is an uncertainty which can affect your objectivity. Risk is not always loss. Risk can be opportunity as well. That is what a conventional definition from ISO 31000 or COSO framework you can get. However, today's world, and I'm putting you today, is a very different way of thinking. It's about little tangential thinking as what risk is. In today's modern sense, the word risk has two distinct meanings. It can mean both the possibility of the danger and simultaneously its potential consequences. And when I am talking to it, it is basically for the health and safety. And as I said, today's talk is all about how health and safety needs to evolve in today's risk landscape. So as a health and safety professional, when we are managing this health and safety risk, we need to look on two things. One is the possibility of danger. And I'm not only saying danger, it can be opportunities as well, plus its potential consequences. So equally, you have to see what the danger it can pose, and what the potential consequence it can give. Once you are aware of this too, then only the risk can be mitigated smartly. And it is very important that the risks are mitigated smartly. Sometimes what happens is you might be knowing that we say eliminate the risk. Is it possible to eliminate the risk? Possibly not. During even COVID times, if you see, how often have we eliminated the risk of going out of the home? There were lockdowns and all. There was a possibility that they thought eliminate, nobody will be there. We will be pushing it we will be binding it from the source and the threat will be gone. But something else has happened. The business started falling. The people's livelihood was in danger. So one risk was the pathogen, and with that, another associated risk was about the livelihood of people were started creating issues. So this is very important. And which is why in this one, the first part emphasizes the source of the risk. What is the source of the risk? And the second focuses on the target exposed to the risk. Who are the target audience of this risk? Who are the recipients? Now with this, if I may go, in 1966, one of the researchers there were two researchers called as Haddon and Gibson. They come up with a theory, and we call it a theory of energy flow. So basically, there are like three elements into it. One is the source, second is the intermediate, and third is the recipient. So any energy flow, and when we call it as an energy flow or a risk flow, it comes from the source. So either you can eliminate it from the source itself. Is it possible that the pathogens does not come at all? Or if it is not possible, then you put something as an intermittent. For example, some engineering controls. Or control to the recipients. And in health and safety languages, we call it as the last resort, which is PPE, that is personal protective equipment. It comes under the last resort in the recipient. So in risk flow, if we put on a Haddon and Gibson methodology as well, it comes from a source, intermittent, and the recipients. So you as a health and safety or as a risk professionals, we need to decide that what the control measures should be for the smart risk mitigation. Now, to do all this, today's era, health and safety, or in any case, the one thing which we require, we call is need of adaptability. As per research, it has been so shown that organizations today are confronted with turbulence of internal and external environment. Now, when we say risk or threats can be internal and external. Internal is something within your sphere of influence, where you can have maximum chance of controlling or mitigating risk. External could be within your sphere of influence and could not be. So during this one, what we do an analysis, we call it as a SWOT analysis. And when we do that, it is very important that one shot fit all does not happen. The risk mitigation thing for me might not happen for you. So this is very important to understand, that when you understand that what is your internal risk and external risk, whether it is a threat and opportunity, how you are going to manage that, it is completely depends on the context of the organization you are working for, or your subject organization. The context is the subject organization. Therefore, what we call is the best way to manage organization will rest upon the ability to adapt themselves to everyday crisis. Now, again, of the COVID era, imagine how many of us were able to even have a conference of like the Zoom nature or in a web link or a webinar. Seldom we heard about webinar before COVID era. But suddenly when the COVID stuck, the business got stuck, the businesses were not moving. What happened? The businesses started adapting. And one of the adaptability is being remote. That's what we are doing today. Another one, if you imagine from a risk perspective, the adaptability of technology. When I started as a health and safety professional, I still remember to carry a book and a pen and going to the sites and noting it down. There were not even the cameras, and there was cameras, but it was a big cameras holding hanging with my neck. But today's the technology has evolved. You carry your own phone. You do not carry any pen and paper. Your inspection sheets, your audit sheets, your photographic evidences, whatsoever, is just with the click of a finger. So this is how the adaptability has happened to ensure the risks are managed properly. Because now, when you say that how the technology helps and how it is adaptable, now imagine your competitors are using high-tech technology in risk aversion, and you as an organization are still conventional in your risk aversion technology. So definitely what happens, your competitors, they get a competitive advantage over you through cost saving, through effectiveness, and third, to be agile. And once an organization become agile, you are on the path or you are on the league of different era. And that is why it is extremely important to be adaptable to the situations. Now, today's era, if I may say, and these are just an illustration purpose, it is not an exhaustive list of evolving risk in modern industry. First and foremost, which comes in my mind, is definitely technology. Technology is changing extremely fast. I believe there is a study, there is a research done, and where it says that within 10 or 12 hours or within 24 hours, technologies are changing. Regulations, governmental regulation, authority regulation, clients regulation, customers regulations, or their requirements, they are also ever changing. I still remember something from India, and I will quote that. Few years ago, I was working in India with a very big organization, and it was a factory setting, and we had painted, because the first aid room, what we need to do is we have to paint it with the wall paints, with the oil paints, because oil, water was splashing. So we did an oil paint. Irony is, the auditor came and they showed us something which was very humorous, hilarious, but it's truth. And I want to just put it in front of you. We have painted it with the oil paint and the best of the paints which we can use. But the auditor saying, now because we are doing a compliance audit, according to the Factory Act 1948, the first aid rooms needs to be whitewashed, not distempered. Now imagine the word, it has whitewashed has never been changed in that one, but we evolved. This is the risk from this. How to mitigate that? Then there was something we call as risk dispensation. We ensured to the auditor, the compliant auditor, that we filled up a form called as a risk dispensation and said, because it was in 1948, the technology wasn't there. So they used to call this as a whitewash. But today, the technology is different, and painting technology is different. Today it's a distemper, today it's an oil paint, today it's a vermilion paint, and all this has come in. Which is why our management has decided to take the newest approach of technology. The auditors accepted it, the compliance auditor accepted it, and we did not get any NCR on that. So I'm just giving an example how regulation not changing or even changing can also cause a risk in your competitive advantage when you are into the business. Third, and very important, geopolitical. I will not go deep into geopolitical because we are not here to discuss politics. But geopolitical is ever-changing landscape. Again, diplomacy, in world, there is no permanent friend and no permanent foe. You have heard about it. So, and which is why geopolitical situation will always change. And because of geopolitical situation, businesses gets affected. This is something I would say an external risk where the sphere of influence of the business houses are minimum. However, it is extremely important that we always see the geopolitical situations and then we design our risk theory. Another one is competition. The competition is getting extremely high. Imagine, even in our field, let me talk about our own field in HSE. When I started in my profession, there were dearth of health and safety professionals. The supply was less than the demand. Today, how many health and safety professionals are in the market? Everywhere. So the supply has gone high, competition has gone extremely high amongst even health and safety professionals. So does what happens in any business, the competition is getting extremely high. So this is also an evolving risk. We as an HSE also needs to hold hand of the businesses and see how fast we can also evolve to ensure that we are into the competition zone. Otherwise, we will be left out of the competition. Another one is ever-changing customers' expectations, your client expectation. Imagine what is the expectation of HSE was there in 10 years before. Is it the same thing which is happening today? Perhaps not. We talk about HSE, H, health, safety, and environment. Remember in our 10 years before, if I talk about, they used to ask, what is your accident frequency rate? What is your LTIFR? What is your MPSR? So these were the parameters our customers were expecting from a health and safety point of view. Today, what they are expecting? Today, they are asking your carbon footprint. Today, they are asking you about the mental well-being. So it's a holistic approach of HSE. Are we as a HSE professionals changing according to the requirement, evolving risk? Are we controlling this type of risk from a ever-changing customer's expectation? The expectation is going higher and higher. Another very important is climate change. It's a talk in the town, and it's very, very important because it can cause survivability issue of humans. Climate change can bring, numerous issues. For example, say flooding, hurricanes, and whatnot. The places where there were no rains, today there are coming the rain. There are intensive and torrential rains are happening. The places where there were rains, it's getting dried up. So health and safety, how do we cope up with climate change risk? Our work, our operations can get affected. There can be a huge disruption because of the climate change in our operations. And this huge disruption can ensure sometime that the business ran out of itself. Last but not least is the infectious diseases. And again, I will give an example of COVID. We never knew that these things can happen in modern era. We knew that 1920 there was a Spanish flu came. Then we thought that we humans are more smarter. We are bringing something, we are devising something where these bugs cannot affect us. Till the time in 2020, when the reality has hit us and we know what has happened. So these are some of the major evolving risks in the modern industry. Now, this is very important. We called as a risk safari, and you might have heard about it, that we called as an elephant in the room. Elephant in the room is something you know about. It's a huge risk, but normally we don't talk about it. An elephant in the risk is an absolute risk which normally you cannot control it. You have to face it. You have to live with it. Then we call something as black swans. Black swans risk is which you cannot know, but it's coming. Black swans are presumed not to exist once upon a time, till a Dutch explorer spotted a black swan in Australia. And in a risky world, black swan represent a highly improbable event that cannot be predicted. And one of the COVID, some people coined it as a black swan. That it was never predicted, but it still happened. And I will recommend you people to read a book of Mr. Nassim Taleb about the black swan. However, the COVID thing, again, I am reiterating, there are another scholars who argue that it was not a black swan, but gray rhino. Gray rhino means there were certain indications that it's coming, but you did not do anything till the time it has hit on your face. And that school of thought who considers COVID as a gray rhino, for example, they say there was indication of MERS, there were indication of SARS, there were indication of something, but we human took it very lightly. And again, I will recommend another book of Mr. Michael Hooker's, The Grey Rhino, How to Recognize and Act on the Obvious Dangers We Ignore. Basically, here we take an ostrich stance. We bury our head and we say, no, we are aware of it, but we do not want to take it. Then black jellyfish. This is something we call it as unintended risk arising from known phenomena. For example, in 2013, a nuclear reactor site in Sweden had to be shut down because of a jellyfish blocking water inlets. Imagine, in a nuclear power plant, where all the best of the redundancy factors and functional safety has been counted on, because of one jellyfish blocking the water inlet, the temperature in the reactor started getting up and the entire nuclear power plant has to be shut down. Now, that is where it is important we call as a risk safari. You can take this one to ensure that which type of risk you are dealing with. Is it an elephant in the room? Is it a black swan? It is a gray rhino? Or it is a black jellyfish? Now, if you see the quadrant itself, what is black jellyfish? Basically, it is an unknown but known. What is elephant? It is known and it is very well known, but you are not doing anything. Gray rhino is little known, but still the consequences are unknown. And black swan, we do not know. It may come in and it can immediately come and suddenly hit your face with adversity. There is another poll I will request you to run, is about what is horizon scanning? Is it sitting and seeing out of the window in the office? Or it is a process of systematic review of future based on evidence-based facts and aligning with the business goals? Or it is a systematic review of the past based on evidence-based facts and realigning with the business goals? Still, the votes are getting on. I will give you a little time on that. Please click whichever you feel is the right one. I know there is a little confusion between 2 and 3. Try whatever you think right, and we'll see the perform. So out of 20, there are only 35% has participated. I will encourage people to do that. Quickly for it, because of the interest of the time, what we'll do is 63% people have answered it right. It is basically, it is a process. It is a systematic process of reviewing the future on evidence-based facts and aligning with the business goal. Rather, in the third one, what is written? It is a systematic review of the past. That is not horizon scanning. Past is taking the lesson learned and you apply it in your future plan. So horizon scanning, we call it, is something, it is a process of a systematic review of the future based on evidence-based fact and taking a decision and aligning with your business goals. Now, I will talk about a little bit of horizon scanning before we end the sessions and get into it. Horizon scanning can be a very good technique for people to look at complexity. Risk is not simple. Risk, when you think, is not linear. There are a lot of tangentiality into it. There are a lot of complexity into it comes. And when you try to see the future as a health and safety, I'm now giving it from the context of health and safety. Please allow me to do that. Now, being a health and safety expert for many years, and you people are there, and few people as a risk expert as well, what we do is we scan the horizon with the data driven. And then we see what are the challenges, assumptions of the challenges, and review multiple ways that could unfold to increase the resilience and reliability of the organization. Horizon scanning is not about to predict the future. It is not an astrologer sitting and say, it is going to happen tomorrow, it's going to be thunderstorm tomorrow, it will be raining tomorrow. Do you know how our meteorological science has applied this horizon scanning? They do a data analysis. And with those data analysis, with the radar and everything, they predict tomorrow's or coming weather predictions as well. This is what is horizon scanning from a risk perspective. So horizon scanning is not about the prediction of the future, but rather to review options so that evidence-based decisions can be made. There are many definitions of horizon scanning. For instance, an organized and formal process of gathering, analyzing, and disseminating value-added information to support a decision-making. Now, data are everywhere. You can get data from Google and where not. But whether those data are important for you or not, or important or value additioning for you or not is important. And that is where we call it a data cleansing. So to do a horizon scanning, you need to analyze the data. First is the synthesis of data, the data cleansing. Then you analyze the data, then which type of data is actually relevant for the context of your organization. And then you take a decision. The second definition says it's a systematic examination of information to identify potential threat. Sometimes even the past can help us to predict future. So we do not look back, but we get the relevant past data, and then the emerging risk we can think of. And not only risk, now when we talk about risk, it's not only about the harm, but it's about the opportunity as well. Sometimes you imagine during the COVID time, the people who sell the mask and the sanitizer, they become billionaires. And the people who were earning because of construction, they went bankrupt. So risk can be two, opportunities and threat. So which one is there? You have to reap on that. Third, but not least, again, is exploration of what the future might look like. Now the technology is coming so fast. You have heard about drone technology and now. You have heard about AI. You have heard about machine learning. How these can factor into health and safety? How can you take off advantage? I'm not talking about threat now, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm talking about, opportunity. How can I leverage machine learning and artificial intelligence in their risk assessment? How can I make something that the identification of hazard can be automated? Think of it. And they are happening. There are a lot of case studies which are happening, which is why the horizon scanning is extremely important. Now, how can HSE evolve with this risk framework? So the best part of it is we need to move from traditional risk management to enterprise risk management. Traditional was subjective assessments with qualitative data, but enterprise risk assessment is about the quantitative data. It is the data-driven insights and assess the risk. Leveraging advanced analytic and models, for example, I said AI, MI, or whatsoever, for an accurate picture of an organization's risk profile. So moving from traditional to enterprise risk management is the key. And I leave you with the thought and ponder you onto this too. For HSE professionals particularly, that how you can shift from traditional risk management mindset to enterprise risk management mindset. And that is where the people in the risk management can play a crucial role. Few strategies HSE people can adapt: technological adaptation. As I was telling about the machine learning and AI and whatnot. Focus on BIA, which is business impact assessment, and business continuity plan. This is very important, HSE people, especially for our fraternity. If there is no business, we are required? So we need to understand that what is the business impact for a safety case? We always say it can cause financial things, it can cause moral things, it can cause some legal issues. But ultimately, it will harm your brand equity and your business can go out of the business itself. So have you done of your critical activities a business impact analysis from a health and safety point of view? Once you have done that, then what you need to do is business continuity plan. If those risks, health and safety risks comes on my face, on the organizational face, what are the methodologies so that the business can prolong, so that business can sustain, so that business can continue? This is very important. And this is what I'm saying. Traditional to enterprise risk management. How many of us, from a traditional to do this, thought about a business impact analysis from a health and safety point of view and a business continuity plan from a health and safety point of view? Third is, again, very important, is increased risk awareness. Unless there is a risk awareness, you cannot mitigate. So risk awareness, it's only not needed to be within the HSE fraternity, but within the organization. What is your awareness of the risk from an organizational point of view is extremely important. And then the last but not least is data-driven decision for risk mitigation. So decisions needs to be informed. Whatever the decision you take, it should be informed decision based on data. And this is something in my research I was doing, and we did a modeling. The concept comes from Jack J. Phillips' return on investment, and the model I have created, and we call as a value creation of HSE in a business world. So potential impacts you can see is enhanced ability to attract and motivate employees, greater employee productivity, new market, low operational risk, more revenue, lower turnover. All this, then it goes to the value circle on the second level. And the second level, what it happens is it gives organization for a pricing power, it gives organization for a cost saving, it can help the organization for an entry to the new market and the cost of capital. Then it goes to the lever one. What is the lever one? It increases your margin improvement. It increases the continual growth, that is sustainability of the business, and the valuation multiple. So your company's valuation, it multiplies. Then it goes to the lever two, which is a free cash flow and profit. Always remember, profit alone cannot keep a business sustained. It is cash flow. So with all those things, with the profit and with a healthy cash flow, HSE, the value creation, how we can put on to the business is a total shareholder return. And this is a concept, and this is a model of value creation of HSE in a business. And that is the end of my talk. And if you want to be connected with me, you can scan this one and you can connect with me in my LinkedIn. And in case of anything, you can ask me the questions. Over to you, Roma.
Thank you, Mr. Dutt, for such an fantastic talk. We really appreciate your time here. And also, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Please do leave your thoughts on this session using our feedback survey given in the chat. Also engage with our social media platforms. You can leave your questions in the Q&A feature below. We will try to address them. I realize we have overrun our time a bit, but if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A feature, and our esteemed speaker here would be happy to answer them.
Is there any question?
Not at the moment. I believe your session was very comprehensive, Mr. Dutt. I think it leaves everything clear.
I think there is something which has come up.
Yes. So an
Yes,
attendee is asking if you can provide an ERM sample.
Sure. And in fact, I will tell you, like OSS itself gives a lot of training from a perspective of your ISO 31000 and ISO 45000. These trainings happens, and you can enroll onto that. And moreover, I will just give you people one thing is it's about PECB certified ISO trainings. You have heard about IRCA. Now, PECB is a different thing. IRCA focuses on audits. For us in health and safety, please remember PECB focuses on implementation part, which is very important. So it is very important that like 45,001, 31,001, business continuity management plans and all, these are all certified, PECB certified courses. And I will suggest and advise you people to go through that. And enterprise risk management sample, yes, we can provide you. It's very much open in the, open in the your internet as well. But if you need to specially have that, you can connect with Ms. Roma and me, and we can definitely sort it out.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Dutt. Like he pointed out, OSS official training platform Knoige is offering multiple trainings from PCB on risk management and business continuity, as well as HSE. So feel free to reach out on rohma@ossmena.com, as well as info@knoige.com. You can also visit the Knoige website, Knoige.com. I will put it right now in chat to view our PCB catalog of offerings. Thank you again very much for joining today. Please leave your valuable feedback at the Google form link given in the chat. Also share your feedback and what you thought about our session today at our tagging our social media platforms on your respective network. Right. Thank you again today. Don't forget to join us tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. UAE time, with our next speaker, Mr.